Hey, what's up guys? Fish from Beyond, just doing a showcase of the dual strike Ambidexterity Trickster in rather rippy map. We're doing a 4 risk scarab incursion, so we do Alva on T17 Citadel. The map naturally rolled the less defenses, and they have like max endurance, etc. We go with a full effect tree, which I show on the screen. If you'd like to copy it, feel free. I change the tree depending on how you like to play. Since we do Alva and Risk in a T17 maps, it's not really the best layout for a breach. In terms of walking in the map, we find out that it rolled ES, it rolled some extra chaos damage, which doesn't matter, we're CI, but it did roll like extra fizz damage. We got minus all res, we have less defenses, and then we have a really bad mod, which is the players deal no damage 3 out of 10 seconds. So we're pretty much running the map. As you can see in the bottom left, we have 5,627 energy shield. And this is just more of a showcase of the defensive of my build and how it works in a rather popular strat, which is doing risk scarabs. In terms of difficulty, I wouldn't really put risk scarabs above like Titanic Giants or Titanic Rogues. Titanic Rogues are definitely scary in my opinion. In terms of how the build works, honestly, it's doing really well. We've found more tech. We've evolved the build from where it was. In terms of budget, I wouldn't even recommend Resolute Technique anymore. Initially, I had the conception that Resolute Technique versus the crit version, the Resolute Technique would be much more defensive since you can drop a lot of weight on the tree to go more defensive orienting, I guess. But that is not true, since I've learned or pretty much discovered, or I didn't personally discover, but when I was looking through the POB and looking at like what other forbidden jewels could we get. So now we drop Ambush and Assassinate and we go for Mistwalker, which is a very good defensive because when we crit, we become elusive. When we become elusive, we are now fully crit immune, which is a disgusting defensive tech. So I have written up a POB with notes, but this is more for a Mage Blood version of the build. But feel free to learn from the POB in terms of tech. I made notes, alternatives. If you'd like, feel free to fast forward this video and I'll have it a timestamp below with a little chapter. And this is us going over the POB. If you have any questions, concerns, feel free to comment down below or message me on Discord or message me when I'm streaming. Do I have a set schedule? Unfortunately, I do not. I stream pretty much when I'm on, and pretty much I'm a degenerate grinder, so here we are. I do apologize for the text on the video, but that's because this is from a recording of when I was streaming, and I have those up on the stream just to track the drops I've had this league and the drops when we were running as a group. We actually found a mirror. That was crazy. Hasn't happened again. We've got 3 Hinacores. Pretty cool. And over here, walking to the boss arena, I usually have a portal scroll and wisdom scroll, but I didn't have it ready. So you'll see me die in a moment because we just didn't dodge the mechanic. And that happens. That always happens. Don't be like me. Bring portal scroll, put a portal down so you don't have to do the walk of shame. Alright, Fish from Beyond, and here we are with the pad of building portion of the video. So I made notes for you guys in terms of if you're a mage blood. I even made a mage blood filter right here, which you can click if you click the pop in, and then it should already like hot link the URL. Mandatory is stun and avoid, and shock avoid. How you'd like to do it, that's totally up to you. Whether you want to do a combination of tattoos, boot implicit, or the flask, or go Brine King Pantheon. Shock avoid, jewels, boot implicits, or the flask. You can check the calcs for these to make sure that you're there. Just upload your person above this config. In terms of this config, important to note, assuming you're at this portion of the build, we are already assuming that you are running a Doryani Merc and you're already at minus 200 lightning runs. You could feel free to remove this if you'd like, but this is where I'm running, and if you have a mage, but I assume you're able to afford a negative 200% setup. In terms if you want to go budget, you don't have your mage blood just yet, feel free to refer to my previous crit budget POB in my previous video, and just try to like take tech that we've discovered from this updated version to move over there, like changing the tincture from a prismatic to a rose thorn tincture. Rose Thorn gives us more crit chance and more crit multi, more damage. Shout out to Lois for pointing that one out. In terms of amulets, like these are optional, reduce reflected damage. I even added a note so to make sure your mercenary doesn't kill themselves. Reduce effect on curses on flasks, optional, but would highly recommend. Now for the amulet, we now have more amulets to choose from, which is, initially I recommend the Malene's Fallacy, but now I would also recommend Ashes of the Stars for more DPS, Yoke of Suffering if you're struggling with resistances, Whispers in Infinity, very defensive, huge quality of life. Would actually recommend this one too if you don't mind like losing a bit of damage but a lot of quality of life. It's amazing. The Utmost, if you're not running a Doryani Mercenary, for whatever reason, you might be running a like rarity mercenary, Utmost is really nice. For the Forbidden Jewel pairs, I would highly recommend Mistwalker. This gives us the crit immunity, especially when we're elusive. There might be small windows where the elusive has worn off and we don't have it back, but relatively speaking, you have pretty much crit immunity since we're critting so often. Born in the Shadows, in case you have a map that has the blind on hit, defensive, blind immunity, and everything around you does less damage. Ambush Assassinate from our previous video, damage and culling. In terms of ascendancy, it's up to you whether you want to go polymath or one step ahead. So Important caveat is where this is the suppress. This is just more a proof of concept. If you want to go full defensive setup and want to go suppress, if you drop the Spellbreaker and go into one step ahead, then you don't have to worry about action speed also, but you're also losing suppress. That's up to you. Pick your poison. In terms of dropping suppress, you can always mix and match. The tree is very modular in terms of, do I need more defensives? Go suppress, go a little bit more EHP, grab like the dark arts, grab the blade barrier. There's even swagger and the mastery for chance to block spell damage, or more like chance to block attack damage. Really nice. But that is up to you. Personally, I drop suppress entirely. I just don't feel it's worth it. But for the people that want a more comfortable experience, that option is there. And since we're talking about defensives, we might as well also talk about the Lethal Pride. Calm is really who you want. If you don't care about this keystone, the Strength of Blood, which as long as you're right clicking, you have pretty good PDR, like the fizz damage reduction. But you can also save a point by just not taking the Strength of Blood. So let's go back to the notes. People were asking endurance, the charges, like where are we getting them from? Personally, I run Enduring Composure, but you can also do Warlord's Mark. There's Replica Victires on the Mercenary. It's not consistent, hence the note. Where are the Frenzy charges coming from? Mark, Mastery, or Poacher's Mark? Personally though, I run Marked Enemy Cannot Regenerate Life. It's just, if for the quality of life, especially when the bosses get juiced, Wisp, Titanic, especially T17 Citadel, when the boss has regen and it's a Delirium map with both Titanic and Wisp, they have regen. It's a bad time. You could always just regret this and regret back, but I just have Marked Enemy Cannot Regen Life for the quality of life. Then the power charges, Assassin's Mark or Anathema Trigger. There might be more sources. This is just what I could remember at the time. And then Suppress Mastery. If fully suppress capped, don't take the chance to suppress spell is lucky. Take Prevent instead, or put the point elsewhere. For the map mods, let's say we get Cannot Block. There's the Attack Mastery right here. Since we have to stretch out for Ambidexterity, previously we didn't have to, but since we do, really good access to a Surge Strike. And monsters cannot block your attacks. Really nice. For high regen, we saw that the Mark Mastery cannot regenerate. Crit maps, when not running Mistwalker, Mark Mastery, Marked Masters cannot crit. I would still recommend Mistwalker. In terms of the Forbidden Jewel pairs, Mistwalker is really nice if I'm just doing bossing and stuff. Ambush and Necessity is where I would be. Now, the cool thing is, remember that rare ring that I initially had on like the POB in terms of how you'd have to find it? I've pretty much figured out. It looks like Manifold is our best in slot. Actually, we value more the prefixes. So here's the crafting process, relatively self-explanatory. Essence Torment until Lightning Flat till T1 elemental damage with attack skills %. Then Fracturing Orb for the 50-50. Hopefully you hit one of the two. If you hit Lightning Flat Frac, you will Scorn. Scorn is the most expensive version. Scorn is global crit multi. Woe is your ES, get the T1. Both of these you're looking for the T1 elemental damage with attack skills. And then, if you'd like, you can lock prefixes, Veiled Chaos Orb for the Lightning Flat, Lightning and Cold damage prefix, or you can get a stat suffix if it fills out your suffixes. So you can also craft the % damage if you have an open prefix after the slam suffix. Now, if you want to get more expensive, you can go Scorn and go T1 elemental damage with attack skills, but at that point you lock the suffixes and you have to Veil Exalted. Veil Exalted and hope to God it doesn't eat the T1 elemental damage with attack skills, otherwise you have to repeat this process. And then you have, once that's done though, you unveil, hope you get the lightning and cold, and then craft % damage. Or if you want, you can try to get ES, up to you. But here is the guide for that. And here is the tree. So just important note, if you would like to drop the suppress, it'll ease up your requirements for the resistances. And this is pretty much our tree. The important thing, or our gear. The most important thing to note is the accuracy. So how you'd like to solve the accuracy, just up to you. I have it on the helmet. It just happened to roll that way. I don't really care about the intelligence. Intelligence is nice to have. We are a pseudo instacker at best. We don't value it as much as the instackers. We're really an attack speed stacker, especially for the claw, hence why I emphasize the requirement of the 7 to 8% attack speed on a natural 1.6 APS base. If you're unaware how to get this claw or what are the claw bases with 1.6 APS, please refer back to the previous video, which I will have a link down below. And then the standard warlock gloves. Oh, in terms of the suppress, so what I did was I put suppress on my implicit, and I also put suppress on the craft. So if you would like, you can grab more suppress nodes if you don't need these. What you can also do, instead of the suppress, let's say you completely forgo suppress, for the eater implicit, you could grab global accuracy, so you have more accuracy. For the boots, if you're not putting suppress, you can just put more you can put a mix of strength and dexterity craft on there to ease up your strength and dexterity requirements. In terms of the amulets, I even put it in here. Whether you want to go Ashes of the Stars, Whispers of Infinity, or more defensive. Yoke of Suffering, if you really need more resistances, this is really nice. This is what I personally use, a focus amulet, but I don't expect you to spend a mirror on an amulet. That is a lot to ask. This is more of just a nicety at best. If you really want to min-max, this is where you go. Or you can spend 12 mirrors for a god roll one, which is all positives. And then what we said in the previous video, if you need more accuracy, the Maryland's Fallacy is a very good amulet. In terms of why I have it set up this way, that's why I had the Warlock gloves as the avoid elemental ailments and avoid shock, so we can get the 50 plus 50% full ailment immune by just the boot implicits and a jewel, which you'll see in my jewels. It is this jewel. And due to my attribute requirements being really bad, I decided to get ES and like more attributes on my jewels. For the Anathema, bleeding cannot be inflicted with you. It's fairly cheap, last I recall, unless a lot of people are suddenly running this, which I don't think so. So just get the bleeding cannot be inflicted with you, and then get the corrupted blood immunity, preferably on like a basic jewel, whether it's avoid being shocked, or like what I did was a regular jewel with also more accuracy and crit multi. Here, corrupted blood cannot be inflicted with you, unless you'd like to spend a little bit more. You could also, realistically, you can get it on a Storm Shroud, but I went with Reduced Effective Curses, even though I also already have the Flask. In terms of Flask suffixes, we've already went through it. Like, it's flexible. I even made a trade link for you guys. So, that's pretty much it. I think I went over everything I wanted to. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out on Discord or leave a comment below if you have any, like, thoughts about the build. Hopefully, I was able to answer a lot of your guys' questions, and hopefully that you learned something from this in terms of like the defensives and how to go about making it feel a little bit better. And good luck on the grind. If you'd like to catch me, I'm usually on stream on Twitch. I would say any time between like 2 p.m. PST all the way up to like 1 in the morning, depending how I feel. But I come around seldomly.